Hey everybody, wow. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome on back. My name is Matt, Cryptic if you prefer, and today we're going to talk about something that I haven't really talked too much about in this channel, but it's actually a question that I get a lot, whether it's asking how to be one or how to get started as one. And so I wanted to start doing some videos on kind of my experience with being a freelancer. Now, keep in mind, I haven't been doing 3D freelancing for a long time, but throughout my career, I've done videography freelancing, I've done graphic design freelancing, I've done quite a bit. So I have a pretty good baseline of experience when it comes to doing freelancing. And so today I want to talk about one of the most important parts of that. And it's a part that generally a lot of people either think they are too good for it or they don't need to do it. And I want to talk about both of those because they're both really important kind of topics and they're both really important kind of viewpoints. So without further ado, let's get into this video. All right, so you've decided that it's time. It's time to go the realm of freelance and you have no idea where to start. So it's super important that you kind of build a base plan and do some of the general things. And this isn't going to be a tutorial on how to be a freelancer. I'm sure there are plenty of those. I don't need to make one. Maybe I do. Let me know in the comments. But once you've established your baseline, what do you do? How do you set up your pricing? How do you do all this stuff? And especially as a 3D artist, how do you take your art and your time and quantify it into something that is both going to keep you afloat financially and going to help you succeed as an artist in this independent space? Well, this is where the kind of the more important part of freelancing comes in. And this is something that a lot of people can't skip unless you are just super duper good. You are super awesome at networking. You already have a trail list of clients. But the reality is most of you getting started out don't have that. And this is the same way that I started doing freelancing, that I started doing work back when I did film and media and all that stuff. And it's kind of the big evil word when it comes to making money off of your art. And that's called doing it for free. I know, that sucks. That is a terrible, terrible concept. The last thing you want to do is do this for free. You put all this time into learning it. You don't want to do it for free. Here's why you should do it for free. And I want to put a clear pointer here. This is not saying do it for free forever. That would be silly. It would be completely unsustainable. So no, you're not going to be doing this for free forever, but this is very important to getting started. So why should you do this for free? One of the beautiful things about being a freelancer is you get to, work on your own schedule, do your own thing, but you also get to build your own relations with clients. And the problem is that when you're just getting started out, unless the job market is just flooded with work, which generally isn't the case, you need to start establishing some connections. So one of the best ways to do that is to reach out to people and offer your services for free. You want to be careful with this, right? You don't necessarily want to reach out and say, hey, I want to work for you for free and do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. You want to set a clear set of guidelines. Say, I want to do this, this, and this for free. And then if you enjoy what I do, maybe we can set up some sort of working relationship together and blah, blah, blah. If you do the free work and nothing comes of it from that relationship, that's generally okay. It does kind of suck. But most of the time, that will either lead to them giving your information to somebody else, to which you could say, okay, so I'm going to charge you for this, or they will just kind of set up a relationship with you and use you for your work, which is good. But it's important to work for free because you're going to spend this time establishing your connections, establishing your kind of group of clients, potential clients, which in the long run is going to be really helpful for you as an artist to A, build on your portfolio, and B, build on your business connections. So when we talk about working for free, you just need to make sure that you are doing it, right? You're going to spend some time, putting in the work, doing stuff for free, not getting anything out of it. This is kind of a crappy period. This is not the best time. This is not you're not going to enjoy this part. And I think that needs to be perfectly clear. But most people who have done freelance work, aside from a few, most people started off this way. And it's kind of important to acknowledge that, and it's important to kind of work with that. So that leads to kind of the next big question is, how long do you do this for, right? How long do you sustain this? Generally, I would say 1 to 2 clients, maybe 3. if you need to push it. But 1 to 2 clients should give you enough experience and enough work to add to your portfolio and say, this is what I do, and this is kind of like how I can work with you and help you grow whatever it is you're doing. That is going to be kind of the number one rule to like look at when you're doing this. Don't do too many for free. Obviously do a couple. Don't do too many, because if you do too many, you're going to become that resource that people think, I can just get this either really cheaply or just completely free, and this person's not going to charge me. You do need to be firm in your belief that like eventually you are going to turn around and say, okay, cool. So I have helped you. I would like to turn this into more of a working relationship. I would like to make some money. Obviously, we're not going to be talking that way to a business owner, but the reality is you're going to want to work into that conversation and say, now is the time that I'm going to go ahead and start charging. And a lot of people get kind of hung up here because they're like, well, that's terrible because now you're switching back on what you said and you're kind of flipping the table and saying, well, it's not free anymore. You have to pay me. It's a scheme. That's not the case. And most people understand that that's not the case. Generally, there will be people who try to take advantage of you in that way, but most people will understand, okay, cool, I got some work for free. I can either continue this conversation if I enjoyed working with this individual, or I can just leave them to the dust. But during that period of time, if you can establish yourself as a super great person to work with, and you can establish yourself as like an awesome resource for the business or the company or whatever, the group, that can generally help you turn that into a paid client. Now, this isn't something you should do for every single client, because eventually you're going to have enough work under your belt that you don't need to. And when you start getting more paid clients, you're going to start doing less free work. And that's just kind of a natural thing that happens there. So that's important to remember. This is only a temporary space. You do not need to live here, but you do need to make sure you spend a little bit of time there. So if you're one of those people who is of the mindset, I'm too good for free work, I've spent too much time for free work, I hope you're right. It's just kind of the reality of it, is I hope you're right. Because if you are not as established as you think you are, then that's going to kind of bite you in a way that you don't want it to. But the reality is that you are going to do what you want to do as an artist and as a creator. So when it comes to the thoughts of I'm too good for this, or I've been doing this for too long to do this for free, you're going to have some troubles there. Finding clients, as somebody who's never worked with clients outside of this, is going to be difficult. If you don't have the experience, the portfolio to show that you've worked with clients outside of this, it's going to be a little bit harder to attract new ones unless you have this bomb portfolio, this amazing communication skills, and this amazing like workflow. It's going to be kind of hard. And so if you're just getting started out, I urge you not to have this mindset of like, I'm too good for this, because the reality is most freelancers start out this way. I'd say probably about 98%, maybe 96%, if we want to get like really technical. But most of us start out this way because this is how you establish relationships and you grow as your own entity and eventually your own little company. So just try to remember, it's okay to say, I'm going to do a couple jobs for free and then I'm going to move on and start charging paid work. Most people will respect that, and most people will actually run with it. So that's really, it's really important to keep that in mind. Most people will run with that. So don't be afraid that they're going to be like, oh my God, you flipped the table on me. That's not going to happen. If it does happen, that probably wasn't a client that you wanted anyway, so just kind of throw that conversation to the wind. Now, there's a flip side to this. What if you're going to be working for a company? So if you've signed like some sort of employment agreement, blah, 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 whatever, you're leaving the realm of freelance. Should you do that work for free? No, absolutely not. Do not do that work for free. If you are getting hired by a company, that is not the realm of free work. That is the realm of please pay me, I'm doing a job for you. That's really important to know, and for some reason it needs to be pointed out, because a lot of people tend to think that, oh, okay, if I just offer my services for free to companies, then they're going to hire me. That's not how this works. If a company wants to hire you, if you apply for a company and they want to hire you, don't offer that work for free. Most companies can't even take that for free, but there are some out there that will take advantage of you and be like, oh yeah, sure, we'll take that for free. But the reality is don't do that. That's going to be more harm to you than anything. And that's not going to help you as a freelancer, because you're working for a company. You're not working as an entity for another entity. You are working as a person for another company. So when it comes to that sort of stuff, throw that out the window. But if you are starting to build relationships with businesses on like a personal level, if you're spending that time building your brand, building your business, all that stuff, spend that time, do a little bit of work for free, you'll start growing a client base, and keep up that relationship and ask them, talk with them, see if you want to reach out and like spread your wings to other people that they may know. Because the reality is most small businesses, until you get into the large business range, most small business owners actually know other small business owners because it's usually a pretty tight-knit community. And that's how I got a lot of the work that I did back in the day. I reached out to one small business that led to another small business that led to another small business. And that was just kind of how I rolled with it and how I went with it. When it comes to 3D stuff, the reality is you probably won't be working with very many small businesses. So if you get that opportunity, it's an awesome thing to kind of try to take advantage of because that is the way it works. But with the larger businesses, just making sure you're keeping up your professionalism and you're delivering on time and stuff like that, like that's going to be what really helps lead you to those extended conversations. Because again, with larger businesses, they still know each other and their marketing departments can still talk back and forth. They're like, hey, we found this cool artist who does this for us and they do it pretty affordably or whatever. We think you should check them out. That leads to more connections. And then throughout that, you can start raising your prices. You can start establishing your baseline charges, things like that. There's really the whole world will open up when you make the decision to do a little bit of free work. So I want to round this out and just say, like, look, I get it. I understand. And I'm sure a lot of people watching this are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to work for free. And that's fine. That's a personal choice. It's a personal decision. It's not something that you have to take. It's not something you have to make. You might have a harder time because you don't, and you might not. The world is very different in the way it works. It depends on your area. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on a lot of things. There are a lot of factors to this. In my experience and in my opinion, it's the best way to grow as a independent kind of entrepreneurial artist who is growing their own brand outside of things, outside of like a normal 9-to-5 job. Does it suck? Yes, it is not fun. I personally hated doing free work, but it helped me out a lot. And it helped me kind of establish how I want to work with customers in the future. It honestly, working for free on most of the stuff I do led me to not want to work in those fields just because it gave me the experience that I was just like, my God, this is terrible. I hate this. But the reality is that it's going to be so helpful for you to help establish your kind of initial like baseline, because the reality is like, if you mess up, there's no money on the line. So yeah, there's a little bit of wasted time and some businesses may be more upset about that. But if you mess up, there's no money on the line. It's a little bit easier to recover from. The last thing you want to do is not have a process built and then go just straight into some paid contract and lose it or fail or lose the project and have to start over or something, miss a deadline. There's so many things that can happen when you're working for a paid company that it's best to preset up the experience beforehand. That way you can go into it confidently and say, all right, this is what I do. This is my process. This is how much I charge. And that all stems from doing free work. So I'm not saying it's the most glamorous thing in the world. I'm not saying it's the best thing in the world to do, but it is kind of an important aspect of being a freelancer. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because like a lot of people ask me like, how do I get into this and start making money? Or how do I start making money as a freelancer? Or how do I break into freelancing? And like, this is kind of the reality of it. This is how this works. Whether you're doing it for film or video production or VFX, 3D, whatever, this is kind of how it works if you don't go the traditional route of getting a 9-to-5 job, you know? And that's kind of the unfortunate reality, but that is the reality. So I want you to take that with, you know, as much of an open mind as possible, because again, everything can change. Places are different. Could happen any other way. It could happen any way but the way that you think it's going to happen. So the reality is you just have to do your due diligence and do what you can. But this is something I really wanted to talk about because it's something that I've had brought up a lot. And I always hate shooting down people's ideas that they're just going to jump into this and make money. But it's really important to have a realistic expectation that you're gonna jump into something and it's gonna suck for the first couple of months to years. And that's okay. As long as you're willing to deal with the suck, you will eventually get out of that and you will do okay. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on the subject, and that's kind of how I want to let some of these people know, like, this is kind of how you start. And as crappy as it is, it's important. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was kind of eye-opening for you if you were thinking about doing a freelancing career. This is in no way meant to sway you one direction into doing freelance or not doing freelance. It's actually a super rewarding field if you can get it done right. But the reality is that I want you guys to be smart about going into it. I want you to be a little bit more informed about going into it, because the problem with YouTube nowadays and the problem with most social media stuff is that everyone's all, do this and you will be a freelancer rolling in money. And that's just not, it's not the reality. The reality is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of sacrifice. And so if you do it right and you are careful and you actually are tactical with the way that you do things, you'll do okay. But the last thing I wanted to do was create a video that was like every other YouTube guru who said, oh, you know, I did these 10 things and then suddenly I was the best freelancer in the world. That's not going to be the case. Just don't listen to that stuff. I spent my life listening to that stuff. Don't listen to that stuff. And you don't have to listen to me either. You can find advice from somebody else. But I do think I have enough experience in this field to kind of help guide you through this. So I hope this video helped. I hope it gives you a little bit better understanding of being a freelancer in any industry, not just the 3D industry, which is what this channel is primarily about. But I do hope this kind of helped a little bit. So if you guys liked the video, please make sure you like and subscribe down below. If you didn't like the video, let me know. Probably still gonna make videos like this, but let me know. And let me know your thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on being a freelancer? Should you work for free? Should you not work for free? How do you handle it if you are a freelancer? How did you handle it? I'm always open to hearing other people's opinions, and I love to hear them. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.